If you're called alongside to help someone who's hurting, and you come walking in the footsteps of Eliphaz or Bildad or Zophar, then be gentle. A person can feel so alone in their suffering. One of Job's complaints was that God was silent. You see this in chapter 23 and verse 3. If only I knew where to find him. If only I could go to his dwelling. And chapter 34, verse 29. But if he remains silent, who can condemn him? If he hides his face, who can see him? Job never did bargain with God as Satan said he would. But he was in the darkness and God was silent. Look at chapter 37 and verse 19. Tell us what we should say to him. We cannot draw up our case because of our darkness. And maybe you're seeking to comfort somebody. Remember, someone who suffers can feel isolated, very vulnerable, and completely alone. When heaven is silent and they are sitting in darkness, very often the best thing to do is to sit with them, come alongside, but don't try and explain what's going on. It's most likely you're guessing, and guessing doesn't help. But being with someone does. And even to say, I am praying for you, also helps. And putting your arm round helps, because Jesus would touch people who were hurting. Our whole system of human thinking is based on reasoning from experience to truth. We experience something and then we kind of reason our way to the truth because of what has happened. But God reasons from the truth. He is truth, and we need to reason from the truth to experience. We can do nothing against the truth. God is truth. Sometimes, when things go wrong, we think it must be my fault. It's got to be my fault. I do that whenever I use the computer. I'm not very good with it, so I assume if something's vanished from the screen, or it won't come on the screen, I assume I must have pressed something I shouldn't. It must be my fault. Hazel's taught me that it could be the fault with the website, or it could be the fault with the ISP. But I kind of think, oh, it must be me. I've done something wrong. And when a whole load of nasties come into our lives, very often the believer thinks, well, I must have done something wrong. In Job's case, that didn't fit. Reality, life is hard. Look at Job 14, verses 1 and 2. Man born of woman, is of few days and full of trouble. He springs up like a flower and withers away. Like a fleeting shadow, he does not endure. Look at chapter 19 and verse 13. Life is tough. Verse 13 of chapter 19, Job is saying, "He has alienated my brothers from me. My acquaintances are completely estranged from me. People don't want to know me anymore. My kinsmen have gone away. My friends have forgotten me. My guests and my maidservants count me a stranger. They look upon me as an alien. I summon a servant, but he does not answer, though I beg him with my own mouth." Everything's working out the wrong way. Disaster has struck, and when that happens, a person can become self-absorbed because of the pain, because no one else is around, and you can be self-absorbed. Job's heart cries out in anger against the wretched awfulness of real life. Something suddenly happened in his life that makes him think life is not a bowl of cherries. Life is not a picnic at all. It's a living hell. And he's never experienced that before. He's had money enough and health enough and health and help enough to ride all the difficulties in life. But now it's all fallen in on him. Look at 27 and verse 6. "I will maintain my righteousness and never let go of it. My conscience will not reproach me as long as I live." He's still wanting to vindicate and justify himself. Now, a byproduct of suffering is that our lives are laid bare, utterly exposed. There is a loss of dignity in suffering, and often a loss of privacy. People have to attend to us in a way that we never thought it would come to this. When we're suffering, all our defences are down. We're vulnerable. And what is in a man rises to the surface. Selwyn Hughes has said, suffering can either make us better people or it will make us bitter people. But what's in will come out. He didn't need someone arguing with him. He's puzzled and he wonders what God's playing at. Nothing makes sense anymore. Now, it's obvious that in this painful situation, Job isn't thinking straight. Who on earth would dare to go into court, which is what he wants with God? Who dare to go into court with an opponent powerful enough to shake the earth, to make the stars and name every one, to still the storms and walk on water? Who in their right mind would dare to stand in front of the invincible God, the watcher of men, this inescapable, consuming fire, our creator? So he's not thinking right.